Like it almost felt like a massage for my brain via my ears. And welcome back to another episode of Exposing Ourselves. I'm Travis Ritchie, and this is episode 15. This is a show where we expose each other to new things. Matt, a big music fan, will assign me one of his favorite albums or playlists to listen to each week, and I, a movie buff, will give him one of my favorite films, and we come together on this very podcast to discuss it all right in your ears. And with me, as always, is my good friend
Matt Runquist. Hey, Travis. This week we're going to listen to BØRNS, the band, except it's a person, BØRNS, and the movie. We're going to watch the movie Easy A.
Yes. Oh, and I'm so excited for both of those things. BØRNS. I love my. I was typing in the name of the band into my notes, and it actually my iPad auto corrected it with that O with the crossed off.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's not a.
I mean,
it's funny. It's funny because it's a word that doesn't really exist in the English language. So even though it's a weird spelling, I think your autocorrect is like, yeah, this person probably means that guy.
He exists, and because it's on the internet, it knows that that's a regular thing, but it's interesting because he's an American guy, right?
Oh yeah, I didn't look him up. I haven't looked him up at all.
I thought you told me that. No?
I think he is an American guy. Oh, man, I don't know. This is going off the rails quickly.
American guy.
Okay, you
All
talk.
Right.
I'm going to Wikipedia.
Well, before we talk about that, I'll tell you about so last week I talked about how my life sounds very exciting.
Yes.
And this week it was very much not. We did have the tail end of a storm that lasted for, I want to say till Wednesday or so. And then I wanted to go hiking. Oh, I might have gone on a hike, I think, on Wednesday, when it was, or maybe it was Monday. And in any case, I did not do as much this week as I thought I should have. I felt very lazy and feel like I've gained back all the weight that I lost on my skiing trip. And, I don't know. It just is weird. I did start my improv class at Upright Citizens Brigade, which was interesting. It was a lot of fun. It's a strong class, but we have a lot of work to do. And then that was Friday, and it was a new place too that I had to ride my bike to the train and take the train to this new stop that I'd never used, and so that was interesting. My big exciting thing, I think, is the thing that I'm going to do right after the show today. We're recording a little early so that I can go to Oxnard, California, and see Randy Feltface perform live. And if you don't know who Randy Feltface is, this is going to be your kind of side assignment this week.
Okay.
For you and our listeners to go to Randy Feltface's channel on YouTube and watch some of his stuff.
Can I guess?
Yes, please, guess.
He's a puppet.
Yeah.
And he's funny.
Yes.
There you go.
Funny.
I did it.
Yeah, good. So Randy is he's an Australian comedian. He's a stand-up comedy guy, but there's this kind of performance art aspect of it because he's also a puppet.
So let me ask you, what style of puppet is he? Like, does he work behind a proscenium, or is he like a ventriloquist puppet?
No, so you never see the guy who operates him, and he works behind like a little counter that they'll bring out on stage, and he'll be behind that. He did a show that is available in its entirety.
He's like a Muppet style Muppet.
Yeah, very much like a Muppet. Very simple, purple, beady eyes, not a lot of frills, no hair, just very like simple puppet. And but the guy's puppetry skills are kind of insane. Like, he has two hands and he operates the hands, and the face is so expressive that there's a video where he does some crowd work and he's basically looking at the audience and he's like, hello, what's your name? And two people answer, and he's like, oh, two people answered, so what, I must be looking down the aisle. And and then like at one point in another clip something similar happens, and then the tech guy turns the lights on for him. And he's like, oh, great. Did Joey just turn the lights on? That's great, because that's really going to help. And he waves his hand in front of his eyes. And he's like, but like that's the thing. Like his puppetry is so good that you forget that he's a puppet
Yeah.
sometimes, and I love that so much. So and also he tells great stories. He's very funny, and so I'm very excited to see him
So
live.
what you're saying is there's a non-zero chance that Randy Feltface is actually a felt-based alien that is pretending to be a puppet in order
Yes.
to make money here on Earth while he's stranded.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. And then he took a look around and he's like, oh, people are into watching these things that look like me. So, well, I'll just pretend to be one of them.
I need to eat.
Yeah, exactly. Puppets need to eat.
I'm excited to find out that that's
something.
the plot of Randy Feltface's first movie. So
You know what? That would be a great movie. That would be a great movie idea. I hope someone does that. But his shows are good, and there are at least 2 or 3 of his full hour-long specials available on his YouTube channel that I encourage you to check out. I went down a rabbit hole about a year ago, and just watched all of his stuff and just was laughing my butt off.
awesome.
So, yeah. So how was your week?
My week was good. Travis, I finished my album. Yes.
Oh yes,
So
I
this
saw
is-
that post.
This is
Oh.
week 13 of the year.
Uh-huh.
Well,
Yeah.
and it's going to be week 13. I'm not sure. I got started a little early, and so the weeks are a little bit off, but I finished the 13th song this week and published it, and it turned out really well. My wife actually wrote it and sang it, and I did all the instruments. It's really fantastic. It's probably the best song on the album, which is not discouraging to me at all because I love her and support her.
Are you going to make it the first song?
It's
Or are
going to
you
be
gonna
the third song on the album.
Interesting.
yes.
You know how I feel about putting the best song first.
Well, okay, so maybe not the best song, but
Okay.
it's really good. The best.
Well, you
the
know,
best
I was
song is
thinking
first.
about this. I did see your post about this song and the fact that you were putting it into an album, which I didn't know, which I think is fantastic. So, is your goal? First question: to have what 4 albums?
Four
over the course of
albums
year?
for the year, 13 song
Wow.
albums. Yeah.
Okay, great. And then so are you not curating your songs? Like, are you not saying, well,
Right.
I got 13 songs, but this one maybe wasn't so good.
I will not be curating the songs. Yep.
Interesting. That's
yeah.
that's a risk. Okay.
I mean, everything about this is risky, but it's all very low stakes. So far, no one has downloaded any of this stuff, right? People have listened to it and enjoyed it, but nobody has even been like, "Hey, I'm gonna download this or add it to my Bandcamp collection." So it's all
Yeah.
very low stakes. I'm doing this
Okay.
primarily for myself, but it is fun to put together an album.
yeah.
And,
Sure. I mean, I never expected anyone to watch any of my stuff, but that's not the point of creativity necessarily.
right.
The creation itself is the point.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about this, and I admit that I have not listened to any of the
Oh, really? Okay.
Spanko Stanko songs,
Yeah.
even though I wanted to. And I think it's because I've had these assignments for music listening, and my music listening has increased by an order of magnitude since we've started this podcast. So I haven't been listening to like other things. Although on the trip to Mammoth, we listened to music the whole way, and it was all 80s stuff. It was great. It was awesome. But I would love you to assign me your album
Yeah?
to listen to sometime.
Okay.
I think that would be a interesting show.
I'm willing to do that. And the nice thing is that we could actually use the music on the show for once.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
and I would
'cause I own the
I wish I
rights.
I wish I had actually made a movie that I could assign you to watch. I have a short film.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Or a web
That's
series.
not enough. That's not enough.
Yeah, no, I'll absolutely do that. It is my intention to release this on the streaming services, not just on Bandcamp. So we hopefully will be able to do a YouTube music playlist or a Spotify playlist.
Yeah, definitely do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see, was there any... Oh, I had one question for you. Speaking of music, last week we talked about the Oscars and how it was such kind of a big part of my life.
Yeah.
But I forgot to ask you, so you don't watch the Oscars because you don't watch movies, but do you watch the Grammy Awards?
I don't usually watch the Grammys. I'm not huge on award shows or watching award shows. I do like, back when I was younger, I would watch some, and I did like the live performances,
Hmm.
like MTV Music Awards or the VMAs, I guess it's called. I enjoyed
Video
those.
Music
The
Awards.
Video
Yeah,
Music
okay.
Awards, I enjoyed those, but I don't go out of my way to watch any of those things. And you know how it is. The best performances always end up going around virally anyways. And so,
Sure.
you know,
Well,
you don't
nowadays,
yeah,
yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
have to watch a 4-hour show to see the moment that, somebody's dress fell down or somebody jumped into
Yep.
the crowd or somebody jumped out of the crowd or whatever,
Sure. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I just was curious because we talked about that and
Yeah.
I didn't ask.
Yeah.
So, anything else going on in your week before we move on?
Nothing super major. My wife had another test this week. It was another negative. Like we didn't find anything. So on to the next one, I guess is the answer.
Yeah, that's going to be a wait too, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
So
Well, I made an appointment for acupuncture, my very
nice.
first time.
Yeah.
That's a couple of weeks away. I'm interested to see what happens.
Are you going to have them take pictures of whatever body part has needles in it?
Maybe I might.
I mean, for me, that would be the attraction, right? It's like, oh, you're going to put needles on my body. I definitely want you to show me what that looks like. Yeah.
Well, I will see it. It's going to be my arm for part of it, and then I'm having elbow pain, but also this plantar fasciitis. And then years ago, I had someone tell me that acupuncture could help me with my facial paralysis, but I never did it. And it's something I'll talk to the acupuncturist about, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
It's just yeah. So anyway, let's move on into the meat. Oh, by the way, Kevin Novacek, a longtime listener, second time commenter, said
Ooh.
we've hit our stride.
Oh, excellent.
Uh,
That's really great
so
news. I feel like we
yeah,
have hit our stride too. So,
I do
hey,
too. I do
so
too.
Kevin, this one's for you. What do you say we change things up this week and listen to the music first?
Oh, okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
So tell us about Bjorn's.
BØRNS. Okay.
Bjorn's.
So BØRNS is a singer-songwriter that first became popular about 8-ish years ago. He's from the west coast of Michigan. I looked it up while we were talking earlier.
West Coast, right along Lake Michigan there. Huh?
Right. I guess my point
Well,
there
I
is
mean,
that he's not far. He grew up not far from me, just across 70 miles of water.
water, but there is not an east coast of Michigan, is there?
Sure, there is. That would be Lake.
Oh,
Yeah, Michigan is surrounded by
yeah,
the
you're
Great
right.
Lakes. Yeah.
You're right.
So,
You're right.
yeah, the only part of Michigan that's
Yeah,
not
cut that part
surrounded
out.
by the only part of Michigan that's not
I'm
surrounded
an idiot
by
genius.
water is the part that's surrounded by Indiana. So, in Ohio.
Yep. All right, I get it. So continue about Bjorn's.
Well, there's not a whole lot to say about him. He's a singer, songwriter, multi instrumentalist. He's released a few albums. His first one had a couple of really big hits on it, and I really like him. He's very unusual. I actually thought he uses a falsetto for much of his singing, and so I actually thought that he was a woman for a long time.
Oh,
He's only 31 years old now, so he's a pretty young dude.
yeah.
And
He kind of maybe Burns of the internet age,
yeah,
off of YouTube or something.
yeah.
What? Why do you love him?
Well, I love him just because it's catchy and fun and emotional music. My favorite track, which I think I did tell you ahead of time, but not on the podcast, is Electric Love. So hopefully you gave that one a
And you're
close
not the
listen.
first person to tell me. You're not the only person to tell me that that was the favorite track of the song. When I told my work friends, my girlfriends at work about it, they specifically said "Electric Love" too. So.
Yeah. So what'd you think?
I enjoyed it. The short version is I really enjoyed it. I might cut out really enjoyed it. It's funny. There no downside about this album. It checked a lot of the boxes that I have said I liked about albums: words that are easy to understand, music that is good in the ears. This is, in stark contrast to last week's band, very fun to listen to with headphones.
Okay.
Like it almost felt like a massage for my brain via my ears. Um, and that is maybe the best compliment I can give, because it, it felt it felt deliberate in terms of the writing. It felt inventive, and the creativity was very real. Like I was listening to it and I was like, okay, this is a musician who has a real vision. It didn't feel cookie cutter, like pop produced, you know, like a lot of what we get. Um, Now, because of that, it wasn't perhaps as catchy as some of the stuff that I've listened to, where you just listen to it and you just kind of are bopping along to it. But I enjoyed having it on. I think this is much more of a have it on in the background type of album than it is a let's put on Borns and let's listen to Borns for me.
Okay.
So, what else? I do like the singing. I like the style of his voice was pretty cool. It was interesting. What the note that I made to myself was there were moments when it reminded me of Tangerine Dream.
Okay.
Um, and my exposure to Tangerine Dream is the soundtrack to Legend from
Oh,
the
okay.
80 from the
Right.
80s,
Yeah.
and because they also use a lot of falsetto in their singing. I think that must be the connection now that you've said that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was interesting. I liked it a lot.
First of all, shout out for the Tangerine Dream reference, which I don't think I've thought about Tangerine Dream in 25 years. So thank you for that.
Legend was a formative movie for me for sure.
God.
Back in those days.
Well, this is dangerous, but I will admit I have never seen Legend. So
Ooh,
yeah.
Adding it to the list.
Yeah, I mean, I have very distinct memories of seeing that VHS box cover many, many times.
Yeah,
In
and
my days.
Musically, it's got a very interesting story too, because originally the soundtrack was written by James Horner, a big
Yeah.
music score guy, and at some point, somewhere along the way, the studio or whoever said we need to have this be a little bit more, I don't know, accessible or commercial or something. And they're like, let's get this huge band, Tangerine Dream, to
Clear,
to do the soundtrack.
Clearly, somebody at the movie studio was super into Tangerine Dream because
I guess.
I don't
Now,
know that I
will
would.
say,
Yeah.
a lot of fans really prefer the James Horner version, and you can actually watch the James Horner version on the DVD, and it's probably available out there somewhere else. But I like the Tangerine Dream music quite a bit. It just is so distinctive, and even though it's very 80s, there are a couple of movies that do this where they have just super 80s sounds for their music. Another one is the movie Lady Hawk. Lady Hawk with Rutger Hauer and
Yeah.
Michelle Pfeiffer and Matthew Broderick. Super 80s sound.
Well,
But
I mean,
anyway.
even the orchestration on Highlander is a little bit like that, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very. Yeah. So, I mean, we're getting a little off track, but that's what sprung into my mind from Bjorn's.
That's
Bjorn's.
okay. There's not to be truthful, right? There's not a ton to say about Bjorn's. He's not like he doesn't have a long career. I will say it occupies a really kind of interesting place in pop music. So I actually saw Borns live as well.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, the year that this came out. So there is a big concert here in Milwaukee every year called the Big Snow Show. There's a locally owned radio station here that's actually pretty popular. It's I realize that's very unusual these days. Pretty much everything is owned by Sinclair Broadcasting or the other big one, iHeartRadio,
Whatever.
I think. But the point is it's independently owned and locally programmed, and they have a big show every year. And it's usually 2 or 3 nights, and this night was headlined by the band Weezer, who you're, I'm sure, familiar with from the 90s.
Yes, I remember Weezer.
Yeah, but one of the openers was Borns, and he really kind of brought the house down. I think he was like the first opener. He only had the one album out. He had like 25 minutes, but people arrived early to see him, and he really was kind of the hit of the night outside of Weezer. So,
Wow.
yeah, it was really exciting. And this is in the big room. I don't know if you've ever been to the rave in Milwaukee, but
Nope.
it's a room that holds 3,000 people. It's a pretty big.
Holy
Oh,
cow.
yeah, it's a pretty big room, and he seemed very comfortable up there, right? And this is,
Huh.
in his early 20s. There was actually kind of a generation of music stars around then, that were all pretty young and so like self-assured and confident in a way
Yeah,
that.
and I think that is an interesting. I mentioned the kind of YouTube internet generation, and I wonder if it's one of those people who had a similar experience with their music that I had for my acting, which was when I had an outlet for my acting that didn't require permission.
Mhm.
When I was able to just produce stuff and put it out, it made me a much more comfortable actor and
Yeah.
made me better for when I was doing professional things. And so I wonder if he produced stuff independently on his own through YouTube or whatever,
Yeah.
earlier, 10 years ago, 12 years ago,
Yeah.
before he was discovered and signed to a label or however that worked. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised either.
It
So,
sounded very competent.
yeah,
The music was just very, it just, yeah,
I
well
would
put
say
together.
I would say it's heavily produced, but not overproduced. Like
I think deliberately produced is what
Yeah.
I would say. There was a song, and I don't remember which one. I forgot to write it down, but there was a song, something about underwater, hard under, and the effect that they do to the music to give an underwater like emotion to it, a feel, was not what I would have expected from that sound. Like it could have been a muffled underwatery sound, but they did something much more subtle and interesting that really gave you the feel of the underwater in addition to the lyrics. And I really appreciated that, and that they didn't do it in that kind of like obvious way.
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah.
So
I,
yeah, I think for a score, I was thinking about this a lot today because it's probably not an album that I will put heavily into rotation. I won't delete it from my YouTube playlist like I do the ones I generally don't like, but I think that I'm probably gonna give it a 6,
okay.
which is but like a good 6,
Yeah.
you know.
A healthy 6. Would
Yeah.
you choose a song or two for like if you were having a party playlist? Would you be like,
Yeah, I think so. So here's another thing. One of the other things of the album, because we listened to an album this time rather than a
Yeah.
playlist,
Yeah.
which was great. And the first song on the album was good. It got me. It hooked me. It told me this was going to be okay. And so probably the first song, and then the third song from
Yeah.
the album, the
Yeah.
one you liked, Electric Love.
yeah, Electric Love? Yeah, I would give this. Gosh, I'm going back and forth a little bit, but I think this is a 7 for me. I think
Okay,
I think
great.
I've got to feel if I'm going to give something an 8, I've got to feel strongly that it's an 8, and this is a 7 for me. I like it.
Yeah.
I play it regularly. I'm always happy when it comes on some random
Sure,
thing.
yes, I would be the same. I think.
But I
I
don't.
thought about giving it a 7 too, but
Yeah.
I just not quite.
Right. I wouldn't put this up there with like the great albums, which I feel like
Yeah.
once
No,
you,
but
once you get to an 8, you're getting into like this is better be awfully close to a great album.
Right, exactly. And much to Kevin's point, I think that I'm better off for having listened to this album
Nice.
for sure.
Well, that's
and
cool.
and I think that I'm glad that you exposed me to it.
I get what you did there.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so a 7 and a 6. That's but like I think a strong 7 and a 6.
Yeah, I would agree.
Is
I would
what
agree.
I'm laying down here.
Well,
All right.
let's expose ourselves to something else.
Oh,
to Easy
man.
A.
So my assignment to you this week was a movie that it was a throwaway, like I just wanted to give you something pleasant to watch, but dang, I rewatched this movie and it is more than pleasant for me. I
Yeah.
love this movie.
Yeah.
It's Easy A, starring Emma Stone and just an enormous cast of supporting actors. Most notably for me, Miranda Richardson and I can't never
Thomas
remember
Hayden
his
Church.
name. Stanley
Stanley
Tucci,
Tucci.
who was
Okay.
amazing. Okay,
Okay.
so an absolute stellar supporting cast, including Stanley Tucci and Patricia Clarkson as her parents, and but also Thomas Hayden Church, Amanda Bynes in I think it's one of her last film roles,
Yeah, I think so.
because she was kind of in a downward spiral, but she's great, and it's got Lisa Kudrow in it, Malcolm McDowell, and also the SNL guy who plays the
Yeah.
priest.
Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah, right. Anyway, but it
God.
must have been one of his first roles after
Yeah.
SNL
He
because
looked so young. He looked
so
so
young, and
young.
he's clearly a little like, oh my god, I'm in a motion picture type
Yeah.
of energy,
Yeah.
but really fun. Anyway, the story is essentially an allegory for the Scarlet Letter. And the Scarlet Letter is actually a plot point in the movie where Emma Stone's character is there's a rumor that she lost her virginity to an older kid like in college, and she can't get rid of the rumor, and so when someone offers her money to pretend like she had sex with him like an unattractive student, she just's like, okay, I'll do it. And so she becomes the like the tramp of the school, but having never actually had sex.
Right.
And it's funny. The dialogue is great. It's written and directed by it's directed by Will Gluck, but written by a guy named Burt Royal, and it's pure delight for me. So tell me what you thought.
Hate it. No, I'm just kidding.
Hated it.
Hated it. No, I really enjoyed this movie as well, as I'm sure you suspected I would.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's a really great comedy. It's one of those that people kind of forget about it when they're thinking about great, high school comedies. They're like, oh, Mean Girls, and this is I'm sure this movie got greenlit, because Mean Girls made so much money. But and is this Emma Stone's first movie or just her big breakout role?
I think it was her big breakout. I don't know. I would have to look that up
Okay.
to know for sure.
But I really enjoyed it. The plot is really good. It's not really a retelling of Scarlet Letter per se, so much as a commentary on the same type of situation, which I was actually glad about, right? Because the Scarlet Letter is fine for what it is, but it's not really it's not really a modern story, and
Right.
you'd have to set it in a kind of an unusual situation for it to even make sense. And so I liked that they sort of just brought those puritanical elements in through one of the cliques in school, and then that was it. It wasn't like,
Right.
here are the plot points from Nathaniel Hawthorne.
Sure, yes. It's highly, highly updated for modern sensibilities and audiences. So, I did look it up. She had done this after she did like Superbad and Zombieland.
Oh, this is after Zombieland? I
It's
did
after
not know
Zombieland,
that.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Which
this,
her role in Zombieland was pretty,
yeah. It
neutral.
was,
Like she was great, but it wasn't.
yeah.
It wasn't what you think of as an Emma Stone,
Sure.
role.
Okay.
She certainly wasn't a main character, so that makes sense.
Yeah. But
Just before The Help, by the way, which we reviewed a
Yes.
couple months ago.
yeah. Thomas Hayden Church was fantastic in it. I really liked his cool teacher thing.
Yeah.
Where you were never concerned that he was going to sleep with a student or something like that, but he was still
Right.
thoughtful and caring. Like there is this, there's a strain of person who's like, oh, you can't even do anything anymore because you're going to get accused of something. And it's like, no, you just, you provide support without being creepy. And it
Right,
turns out that
yes.
you're okay. Right.
You can't do it. He wasn't creepy cool. He was just cool and
was just
friendly. Yeah.
cool and friendly and dorky and fun, and so I like that. And then of course there is a teacher with a sleeping with a student plot point in this movie, but it's
Mm-hmm.
his wife, Lisa Kudrow, and that's a fascinating turn, right? Because when she's first introduced, she's very much on Emma Stone's side and just trying to help her, and then all of a sudden this is revealed about her, and she does some acting in this movie,
Mm-hmm.
really good.
Yeah,
I mean,
unexpectedly.
well, is it unexpected anymore? I don't know because Lisa Kudrow is sort of the breakout. Like from my standpoint, Lisa Kudrow is the only friend I ever want to see again, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Oh, that's
Like,
mean.
I don't know. They all seem fine. I think they can survive with my disdain. They'll
Okay.
make
Yeah,
it.
no,
You know,
they're okay.
yeah, they're okay. They're fine. But yeah, she's really fantastic. She does a great job, and yeah, I boy, what else is there to say? I like the structure of it. It's the structure of an '80s movie, which is always
It relies heavily on 80s movie references and tropes. Like it references The
yeah,
Breakfast Club and stuff like
it
that.
references The Breakfast Club and Ferris Bueller's Day Off and
Yep.
Say Anything and the Patrick Can't Buy Me Love, which I
Hmm.
love that it referenced Can't Buy Me Love for a couple of reasons. One is that's what I know Patrick Dempsey from. So when 20 years down the road he became known as McSteamy, McDreamy, one of the hot doctors from Grey's Anatomy, I was like, how does he still look the same?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
he still looks exactly. So that's one reason I like Can't Buy Me Love, and then the other reason that I like Can't Buy Me Love is because a large portion of it was shot in Tucson, and I lived in
Was it?
Tucson for 7 years. Yep,
Oh,
and
Can't Buy Me Love was.
yeah,
Yeah.
Can't Buy Me Love. Yeah, and so I like going to see the airplane graveyard in Tucson, which is still there. And
Yes, it
I've
is.
actually been on base for reasons that aren't important, but so I've actually been in the airplane graveyard and seen the planes up
Wow, that's
close.
pretty neat.
It is really cool. So
There's a
I
book I read recently that has a bit that takes place in there called Unwind,
yeah.
which, anyway, very
Yeah.
interesting.
No, I mean the airplane graveyard is part of the culture in Tucson, and it's a part of the culture that I enjoy. So, anyways,
Wow.
but back to Easy A. Yeah, I like that it openly acknowledges the tropes of '80s movies and engages with them, but it doesn't ever feel like it's leading on that to avoid being good on its own terms.
Yeah, yeah. I remember being sat down to watch this movie. Oh, I don't know. I mean, years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago, and just being surprised and delighted by it at the time, and having no idea that it had been around. Because I generally am not into these like kind of 80, teen movies, like these high school movies, and just being so kind of thrilled at how good it was. And then I haven't watched it again, even though I bought it. And so I owned the copy of it that I sent you,
Oh, nice.
able to watch it. And so, and I think I don't know why I did that. I think it must have just been on sale or something like that. But I was so happy to watch it again and again feel that just delight of how good it was. Like laughing out loud moments. Like you've got the, like I said, Stanley Tucci and
Oh,
I said it was Miranda Richardson, but it's not. It's Patricia Clarkson.
yeah.
They as the parents are.
That family dynamic is fantastic. The fact that this girl is an outcast in school but has family support is a
Uh-huh.
is an interesting choice and a good one.
Yeah, yeah, it's incredible, and the parents are both really hip, but also have their own histories, and that like they're like you can see that they bring their own histories into their parenting skills, and that they realize that teenagers will be teenagers, and they want what's best for their daughter, and they give her a lot of like, okay, we see that you're very smart and responsible, and so we're gonna like have a hands-off approach, but we're here when you need us. And they're so funny. There's a moment where they have an adopted black brother for a younger brother for Emma Stone's character, and at one point they're talking about, I don't know, it's something running in the family, like diabetes or something like that runs in the family, and the kid's like, I don't have to worry about that, I'm adopted, and Stanley Tucci's like, you're Stop it, and like just pounds on
Who
the
told
covers, like,
him?
who told you? We were waiting for the right time, and it was just it's just a brilliant.
I
It's
like
so funny,
I like that this
genuinely
movie
funny.
has like a variety of comedy in it. Like it has
Hmm.
very funny one-liners in it.
Yep.
It has very funny physical comedy. The stuff revolving around the school mascot and the boy that she likes. Uh,
Yes,
that
we'll have to
that,
talk
that
about him too.
has very good physical comedy. It has stuff it has like some discomfort comedy, right? Like not a ton, right? But like where it's like, oh, this is funny because this is awkward. There's a little bit of
Hmm.
that. There's situational stuff that's funny. There's a lot of different layers to the script and the
But also some
performances.
serious stuff, like
Yeah,
I mean, takes the she gets herself into this situation, and there are repercussions that are kind of serious
yeah,
that she has to deal with. So I love the love interest guy
yeah,
who is kind of just always there, and he's the genuine nice guy who is just being nice,
yeah,
biding his time,
yeah.
waiting to be seen.
Well, and he's not biding his time in the sense of like someday she's going to realize that I've always
Right.
been the one for her. Just like working on himself, biding his time,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know. And
yeah.
yeah, I love you, and I'm
In a
not.
very healthy way.
Yeah,
Like, and
in a very
he's
healthy
just
way.
doing his thing and enjoying
Yeah,
life, and being one of the good guys.
being
And
one of the good guys
finally,
and being there for her without expectation of like some
expectation.
sort of
Yeah.
reward or whatever. Just
Yep.
being there for her because she needs it.
Really healthy and really just a good role model for in movies, just of the type of person to be.
Yeah.
So oh man, what is there anything else that I want to talk about before we rate it? I mean, I it just is a movie. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely see it. It's good. It's good.
So on the ratings front, I'm struggling a little bit because
Hmm.
I really, really liked it. Um, but my gut instinct is to rate it an 8, not a 9, right? And I'm thinking about like, am I just downgrading it because it's a comedy, right?
Right.
You
Okay.
know, or does it really feel like an 8? Like, do I feel like there's 2 points left to give on the comedy front? Because
Mm,
I do love comedies. I think it's an 8. Maybe it never like I never get like uncontrollable laughter from this movie, right? There's a lot of stuff that's funny and clever and I dig it, but there's not like pardon me, but like a shitting in the street moment from Bridesmaids where I like was falling off of my chair, right? Something like that
It's
where
funny, but that so you're saying a moment like that would have raised it in your
I
estimation?
not necessarily like gross out humor, but like something that like it builds to the point where I'm like uncontrollably laughing, right?
Okay, okay, interesting.
Like I like a good set piece, right?
Sure,
you
sure.
know.
Now, it's funny because my ex, his favorite movie was Bridesmaids, and I've seen it, and it's good. I would put this movie head and shoulders above
Sure.
Bridesmaids. From my standing. So you're gonna stick by your 8?
I'm gonna stick by my 8.
All right, all right. Well, I had a similar problem with my rating, but I think for me it was that like, can I rate this a 10? Like, is this a perfect movie? Because
Yeah.
it feels like a perfect movie. I can't think of anything that I didn't like about it. I loved the credits. Like, I love the style
The
of
credits are pretty fantastic.
I love it. It just seemed like so much thought went into this $8 million movie, and it's the type of movie that I would love to be in. And but like, I don't know, something, I feel a little bit weird giving it a 10. So, but it's definitely a movie that I will watch again and look forward to watching again. I don't know. I don't know. So, yeah, I think I'm just gonna do it.
Do it.
I
Do it.
cannot
Do
think
it.
of
Do
anything
it.
bad
Do
about
it.
this movie. Anything that is not perfect. And so, I mean, God, yeah, I'm even critical usually about the gay best friend character, and maybe he was not as good as he could have been, but he was pretty darn good. I liked him better than the gay friend in Mean Girls by a long shot.
I like that he kind of, I don't know that he's the gay best friend. He's just a
You're
gay
right.
friend, and he does his own thing and has his own plot and gets a big old makeout scene at the end that's not like couched in any way, and it's not like they looks like they're gonna kiss. Oh, let's cut away. Like they give it to him, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I thought it was well handled.
It's great. I feel like it's a movie that was maybe even a little ahead of its time, but dang, yeah, 10 for me. 10 10 10 10 10 10.
Yay! Ooh, maybe we should start doing a sound effect for tens. I'll see if I can find something.
There you go.
Like an explosion or something.
Children screaming. No.
Children screaming and an explosion every time someone gives a 10.
Cheering is what I meant to say. But all right, great. So a 10 and a 7 for Easy A.
All right.
That is an easy
No,
A.
no, it's a 10 and an 8. I gave it an 8.
10 and an 8
Yeah.
for Easy A.
Yeah, I gave it an 8.
That's a super easy A.
Yeah, that's a super easy A. So what do you have for me next week, Travis?
Well, so now after this palate cleanser of a nice comedy, I'm going to give you Mission Impossible 4, which
I'm not familiar. What is it?
Yeah, so it's Mission Impossible 4 was filmed. It stars a young unknown by the name of Thomas Cruise.
Cruise.
Cruise. Yeah. That's all right. It's all right. You may recognize him from other things once you start the movie. But no, this movie is my favorite action movie of all time. It was directed by Brad Bird, who you will know from...
You're kidding! Oh,
No.
I'm now looking forward to this movie.
Yeah, so this is his first live-action film. So he came from Pixar. He directed Iron Giant, then went to Pixar, directed The Incredibles, and maybe something else. I can't remember.
Yeah, he picked up a
Did he do
movie.
Ratatouille?
What happened was somebody got pulled off of a movie and Brad Bird got put onto it, but I can't remember which one it was. It could have been Ratatouille.
Well, in any case, so he comes from a really healthy storytelling pedigree. And so he came to this movie as the follow-up to Mission Impossible 3. And the thing I want you to keep in mind while watching it is especially for your first time through, is the thing that they do very differently, which is nothing goes as planned. Everything that they try goes wrong. And you're never explained the plan. Right? And so, which I love, like every heist movie or spy movie.
Every Mission Impossible movie, for sure.
Every Mission Impossible movie to this point, you're like, all right, here's what we're going to do. We need to do this, and then we need to do that, and we need to do this. But in this one, notably, they do the plan, and you, as the viewer, kind of have to figure out what the plan is as they're doing it. But then also the plan will go wrong, and it's just wonderful. So,
Well, sounds a little thinky to me. I don't know. I know you're not a fan of Episode 8, The Last Jedi, the Star Wars movie. But
no, I'm not.
I actually just watched it again this week because I was like, man, am I wrong about this movie? Newsflash, I'm not wrong about this movie.
No.
And one of the things I like about it is that there is a plan that goes wrong in it. Very famously, the whole going to get the code breaker thing goes super duper side. You don't need to defend it. This is not, or you don't need to defend your hatred of the movie. I know you hate the movie. I'm just pointing out like that particular plot point is something that was in that movie and people hated that, but I loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
I think it's because it took so long. It was such a big part of the movie that ended up being just completely inconsequential to anything. And here's the thing: like if they had figured out a way to actually complete the mission, that's where it differs from this movie, where like even though everything goes wrong, they still have to do it, and so they have to improvise solutions to compensate. So there's also another thing where same thing I mentioned last week, where Ethan Hunt has injuries that actually persist, and like he has to work through them, and like
Nice.
which I really like.
Cool.
So, yeah, I'm really interested to hear what you think, especially since you did like this one. This also has famously one of the best stunts I've ever seen in a movie where Tom Cruise is literally climbing on the side of the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. And he did it for real. And when you watch it, you're like, yep, that that's nauseating and awesome. So,
Yeah, I am a little scared of heights, so
yeah,
that's gonna be a thank you for the warning.
you're
Um,
welcome. You're welcome. All right,
all
what do you
right.
got for me?
Have you heard of Dua Lipa?
I have heard of Dua Lipa.
She's a female pop star, popular in the
Yep.
clubs. So,
I'm certain I know at least one of her songs.
yes, there was a song that came out, I think, last year called Levitating that was in a movie, Trolls World Tour or something that made a big splash. Big, very
Okay.
popular movie. Very popular song, rather. So, and she actually has a string of popular songs, and I put them all on a playlist for you. This is big pop hit, one after the next.
Oh my
Hopefully,
goodness. All right.
hopefully,
This is
hopefully you're gonna dig this.
so a playlist, not an album. How many albums does she have?
Two full albums plus some. She's a pop artist, so she guests on things or sings on things that don't
Okay.
necessarily make it onto a full album. But two full
Does
ones.
she write her own stuff, or is she kind of like doing stuff that other people write? Or...
I think it's a combination, like a lot of these
All right.
people. It's mostly studio magic, I think. But yeah,
Interesting. Well, I know that I could not name a song of hers, but I do know that she's popular. And I have heard the name. It was one of those people who, in the last year, I've heard a lot of, and like Megan the Stallion, and
Yeah.
like every time I hear the name, I'm like, I'm hearing it wrong. That can't possibly be her actual name. And but no, Dua Lipa,
Dua Lipa.
Dua.
Yeah.
Not Duo Lipo. That I think that was my thing too. Like I thought people were trying to tell me like to take Duolingo, like lessons or something like that. But,
Yeah,
Dua
I
Lipa.
I
All right.
believe it means two lips in some language, but I'm not sure which one.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, well, it's good to know.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. This is gonna
Yeah.
be fun.
Yeah, it's a good one. I think you will like it. She has
This will be good hiking music.
there is a fun there's a fun fact as well, which is that
Oh.
her song New Rules is the very first song I lip sync to as a drag queen.
Interesting. I don't know that I've ever seen your drag queen pictures.
Really?
You will have
Oh.
to send me a picture and post a
Whoa.
link in
You'll
the
have to do
show notes.
You'll have to do a deep dive into my Facebook stuff. Yeah.
All right. I
I can't
will do
believe
that.
you missed out on that. Nina Menasha Ford actually was my drag name.
Oh, shut the front door. That is such a great name. That is this. I mean, as a Wisconsin person,
Yeah.
Nina Menasha Ford. Oh my God, that's a great.
Fantastic.
That's a great name.
So-
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to this. Oh, Matt, thank you for exposing yourself to me.
Thank you for exposing yourself to me, Travis.
This has been joyous, and I will see you next week.
Yeah, I'll see you next
Bye-bye.
week.
Oh, hey, wait.
Oh, for the
Wait,
episode?
if you want to leave comments and get a hold of us like Kevin Novacek has, find us on our Facebook page. Just search for Exposing Ourselves. And if you want to email us at exposingourselvespodcast@gmail.com. And please, if you are listening to this on whatever podcast app you're listening to it on, give us a rating. If you think we've hit our stride, give us a 5 stars or whatever the star rating on your various apps are. We
Give us
appreciate
10
it.
stars. Give us 10. Do it.
Give us 10. Rate us twice.
Yes. Right. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks. Bye.